Welcome to Empowered Endeavors, the place where business strategy and purpose come together to turn your passion into a platform and a place to take your ideas to implementation so that you can actually leave a lasting positive impact on this crazy, crazy world that we live in. I am your host, Shaunna Lee. I am the best-selling author of So You're Divorced, So What? And I am a business consultant to entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and aspiring storytellers. Today, I am introducing to you a new friend, Sharon Seaberg. She is a Soul Path Activator, and I am super excited for you all to learn about her branding guide and this process that she took me through specifically. And I'll let her share her signature program that is all about soul alignment. But first and foremost, Sharon, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad our paths crossed here locally, which is funny that we're both in the TWIB, Texas Women in Business Networking Group, and we have yet to meet face to face.
I know, right? That's a good point.
But I love it. I love how that program has brought us together, and I'm super excited that you're on the show today. So I guess let's start with a little introduction. So tell my audience a little bit about yourself and how you started your business.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that invitation. Yeah, I was in corporate America, I know you and many others, right? For 20 years, and I loved it. It was in high tech mostly, and wore lots of different roles, but basically I burned myself out, and I found myself doing a lot of soul searching and trying to figure out, what am I here for? What am I doing? And that led me on this beautiful journey to becoming a coach. And what I do now is I really love helping people see their full selves and become their full selves and learn to live with an open heart, listening to their intuition and prioritizing joy.
Yes. Yes. Listen, that is something that more and more people, if I could give one piece of advice, would be just that, to lean into your joy. I myself get stuck in the work mentality. It's funny because I was just on a podcast recently, and it was all about entrepreneurship. And I was trying to describe this weird, we were talking about work-life balance. And I was like, I work more now than I ever have as an entrepreneur. But the difference is I really love what I'm doing. And so it doesn't feel like work. And the number of hours in a day might be more that I'm working now than I used to, but it's so much more enjoyable. And so it doesn't feel like I'm working more, even though I really am. So it was like this weird conversation that we were having around that whole concept. But you're on the right path in terms of helping people align with their soul's path, their journey that their soul is calling them to. And I love this branding guide that you put together. I think this is hugely beneficial for new entrepreneurs, which is part of my audience, because it helps you really align what you're doing in your business with what your soul is, your blueprint is. So maybe tell people a little bit more about that, because I thought that was super fascinating.
Yeah. So part of this journey for myself and becoming an entrepreneur is, figuring this out. Like, what is it that I'm doing? How do I get more visibility? How do I, who are my clients? Where's my revenue coming from? Like all of this, right? And of course, you give context to it, but what I've figured out is it's all mapped out here for you. And there's just amazing tools that are right at our fingertips that just clarify and give you the cheat sheet, the shortcut to really and once you see it laid out, you just feel so seen and heard and motivated to get started. You no longer want to hold yourself back. You know what you're up to.
Yeah. Well, and I loved that it pulled in. So you were using the gene keys, which is a
Mhm.
big portion of human design.
Right.
Um, so I was familiar with human design and my astrological birth chart. And so I was kind of, some of these woo woo tools I was very familiar with, but the way your branding guide kind of pulls it all together, specific to your business and your niche audience and any specific offer that might be what you're kind of creating the branding around, I thought was really helpful because it pulled the two together for me in a way that I wasn't able to do for myself. And so, yes, I can look at my human design and I can look at any one of the gates, but to be able to see how that comes together, um, specific to how I could brand my business was a different nuance. And so I haven't seen anybody else doing that. And so I was super grateful for it. And I thought that was really cool. Um, what do you think, other than your journey, what do you think was the why behind, being burnout in corporate and kind of determining your own purpose is one thing, but what drove you to turn it into a business?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, we've all heard your mess becomes your message, right? And that's,
Well, I don't know if everybody's heard that, but yes, I'm familiar with the concept.
yeah, it's really that. It's like your own journey becomes what you want to most share with everyone. It's the whole hero's journey, really, even, right? It's like the things
Yep.
that you most needed to learn, and once you embody that, you want to share it. These were my struggles. This was the things that I went through that were so difficult, and then you want to you turn around and share it with people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was I mean, even this gene key method was, I was trying to figure everything out myself, or every time I met with a business coach, they're like, well, you need to look at your niche, you need to look at your ideal clients, and what is your overarching message, and all the stuff, right? And I'm like, after so many times that someone tell me that, like, oh my God, I can't look at this again, and then I was looking at the gene keys, and I was like, oh my God, it's like mapped out here for
It's
you
right here.
already, right? It's right here. And so just being able to see that, um, yeah, it's very reaffirming, validating, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, if you were to look back at like maybe your early days of leaving corporate, what do you think kept you from starting your business sooner?
Yeah. Well, I really do think it's a journey, that we're all, on and meant to go through, right? What's really funny is it's really growing into your own power. And that power is knowing your love fully, totally, completely, loving yourself. And the other work I've done as a coach is, I did a program called Feminine Power. And
Mm,
yeah, it was really all about, ultimately, about the connection that you have with yourself, with your higher power, and with those around you. That was the focus of it. And once you have those three things, it life just gets so much easier.
it does. And this is kind of echoing another conversation that I had previously on the show, which was around, the more you align with your power, the more you drop the fears, you let go of a lot of the conditioning and unlearn a lot of what we learn and how to be human. Um, the more you identify with who you are authentically, the easier things get. Like
Yeah.
the more that we can just be who we are, which I think is funny that so many people are spending so much of their life trying to fit in or fit into this mold or be something that is not authentic, and it makes life really hard. And the more we can let go of that, things get easier, and it's like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like you hit on it, when it is a journey. One thing leads to another, leads to another. Someone asked me one time, how did you set out to start this podcast? And I was like, oh gosh, I didn't in the beginning. It was, writing my book, which led me to coaching, which led me to the next thing. And so it was like I was constantly being prepared for the next step on the path, but not really knowing fully where it was going. And I think that's what we're all doing here. But
Yeah.
I love that this branding guide kind of fills in the blanks for you, right? Because the more I was showing you before we hit record, that mine's sitting right here on my desk still. And so I refer to it all the time. And the more that we can kind of lean into the way we were designed to be, things get simpler and easier, and it all kind of just falls into place magically. And it's been really amazing. So I love that you offer that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. It's like, if when I look at my gene keys, there's a one of the genes is called your purpose, and for me, my purpose was, um, well, it's moving out of the shadow of mediocrity and into exquisiteness and into like the fullness of you, right? And I was like, oh, that's cool. I get to be, my purpose is to become me.
That's
Yay.
right.
You know? What I found really was in helping others discover who they really are and step into their fullness is what really that's when I feel the fulfillment. So, um, so yeah, it's all mapped out there for you. It's just a matter of being able to just decipher it, figure it out, and learn to lean in and love who you are, all parts of
Yes.
you.
Well, and I think it's been interesting for me, when I first started this entrepreneur journey, I was trying to use all of these different healing modalities or the woo-woo methods or all these, touchy-feely, fun, exciting things as a way to tell me what I was supposed to do. What am I supposed to do with my life? And every answer I would get back, like I would look into numerology and career guidance, and I would look into human design and where it leads me on a career. And it always came back to do whatever you want to do. And I was like, no, no, no. I need to know, like, what am I supposed to be doing? And it really comes down to, for me, finding the joy in the moment, and aligning with my purpose is not tied to a career. And so it really kept coming back to do whatever you want to do. You can do that. You could do this. Like writing is a great avenue. So is podcasting, because it's all about communicating. But do whatever you want with that was kind of the answer. And in the beginning, I was a little frustrated with that because I was like, no, 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 I need the recipe. I want to know exactly what to do. What are my rules to follow? Because that's how we're conditioned to, I will say I followed the recipe and how we were told to live, a successful human life, right? You go to college, you get married,
Mhm.
you go get a good job. And, 3 steps down the process of following the recipe, I'm like, but I'm not happy or feeling fulfilled at all. This feels like drudgery, and I'm not spending time with the people that matter most to me. Like I went out and, created humans. They're my favorite humans on the planet, and I'm not spending any time with them. And so it was just this very weird, like I followed the recipe. And and so when I busted out of that and I was like, okay, so I'm going to go out on my own. Let's figure out what life looks like. Um, it was interesting to me that I was still looking for the recipe to follow, right? I still wanted all the woo-woo guidance to show me what I was supposed to do. And the truth of the matter is I could have stayed in corporate. I could be an entrepreneur. I could write books. I could host a podcast, and it doesn't really matter because that's not really what my purpose is about. Our purpose is not here to make money and build a career, but our purpose can also be a career, which was what was very interesting to me in that branding. Was it just kind of came to life.
Yeah, good. I love that. I love that you have it on your desk. And yeah, and I said to touch on that conditioning, we're really taught to look externally and get validation externally, fit in external, like all the, and it is that coming back inside. And that, I'm sure you've heard of the hero's journey, but there's the heroine's journey, and that is about going internal and
Yep.
that deep exploration of who you are and I know who I am, getting to that point. Hmm. The other thing I would say is I've been thinking about this a lot lately. You know, when we look at our conditioning, we're all taught, especially in religion or spiritual doctrine and all that kind of stuff, is like lose your ego, lose your ego, lose your ego, right? And and then we have the feminine, the masculine energies. Of course, we have them all, both of them inside of us, right? It's this duality. Um, but those that lead masculine, that's actually a good message for them because they're taught, conditioned to dominate, to be aggressive, to overpower,
Yeah.
right? While on the opposite, women, we're more, soft spoken or surrender, or we're, told not to be seen. Like we're already like on the other side of that opposite energy, right? And so the message to kill your ego, surrender, blah, 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 more puts us even further out of balance. So this whole conversation around empowerment is actually what women need. We need to be empowered. We need to know the truth of who we are. We need to know our own love, which is what our power is.
Yes.
It is our love.
Well, and it's interesting because I have been a very masculine female. So my masculine energy is what was driving the majority of my life and my interactions. So for me to lose my ego, it's interesting because it kind of landed differently for me, right? So
Mhm.
it was less about being driven to succeed and provide, and it was more about going internal and leaning on my own guidance. So going inside for me was learning to trust my intuition and being able to trust myself to know what was right and good for me more than anybody else's opinion, which is very interesting to me that this whole entrepreneur journey is really a journey of healing because I felt like whatever I was masking in the corporate world just came to life as an entrepreneur. It's like, it's almost the same as all of a lot of our wounding comes up in our relationships. So, our relationships or our careers or how we choose to, you know, earn a living, it's all bringing up that wounding and gives us the opportunity to look at it. Well, so, okay, my question about your journey to being a business owner, what do you think surprised you most about that?
What surprised me the most is how fun it would be, but how long it would take.
That's good. Yes. Yeah, that's good because I think, yeah, how fun I always think an entrepreneur's life is not very fun, but it has been a whole lot more fun than I anticipated.
Hmm.
And also, yeah, it takes longer than you hope it will. Surprise.
Surprise. But
That's awesome. Well, okay, so if you were to look back at the younger version of you, what advice would you give her?
hmm, gosh, there's so much, and we touched on it already too. It's like,
Yeah,
you know, it sounds like platitudes because we've heard these messages before, but it's not until you really understand it that you get it, you embody it, and it makes a huge difference. And that is number one, truly, totally, completely love yourself. Number two, and if you had asked me before if I love myself, I'm like, of course, but
yeah,
I don't know, the depth of that is just so much more when you really, and what that means is accept all parts of yourself,
exactly.
not rejecting, oh, I'm too loud, or I'm too quiet, or I'm too whatever, whatever you're too of. But
Yeah, yeah. I saw someone recently who said if you're out here saying that you're self-aware, but you're only aware of your faults and your flaws, you're just continuing self-hatred. That's
yeah,
not self-awareness. If you're not also simultaneously aware of your gifts, your skills, what brings you joy, like all aspects of who you are is what true self-awareness is. And I think that is at the core of being able to love yourself, is to be able to see yourself in all your glory and flaws and still truly love who you are. I think
Yeah.
that's amazing advice.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
most people could hear that advice and apply it to themselves.
Yeah. And then the other things would be learn to follow your intuition. And that's just as simple as what feels a little better. And that little better could feel like anger. It could feel like relief. It could feel like,
Yes.
what is that next higher feeling? Um,
I like that you said a little better, because I think sometimes, yeah, we're looking for our intuition to be like this glaringly obvious big difference. And sometimes it's gentle, it's a nuance, it's a very slight, this feels a little better than that. And I think just leaning into that and recognizing that it's not always big is really important.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then last, perspective. Perspective is so much. What you focus on and the meaning that you give it is what your experience is going to be. So, what are you telling yourself? What is your perspective? And we all have these relative truths, and especially in the world today, right? There's this huge dichotomy between everything, depending on
Everything.
what you listen to, right? Where you're focused.
Pick a topic.
Pick a topic, exactly. So it's being able to have that higher perspective, which means being able to look at both perspectives, because everyone is doing the best that they can. Everyone has their own relative truth, um, and learn to hold that, and learn to see that broader perspective, and see. I'll say see with the eyes of love.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, totally. Man, that was a threefer. I like that. Three different things of pieces of advice you would give. That's awesome. Well, this next question I've been asking people for a little bit now. What do you now believe is possible for your own life?
wow, that's a great question. And I will say infinite possibilities. I will go with my own power and just say infinite possibilities.
Yeah, totally. I love that. Wow. Well, yes, listen, this was like nuggets, nuggets, nuggets throughout the whole conversation, which was so fun. Um, I think my last question is, how can people find you? How can they engage with you if they're interested in doing this branding, or aligning with their soul alignment? How can they find you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. You can find me at SharonSeaberg.com, and that's Sharon. Seaberg is SEABERG.com. And my branding package is branding.SharonSeaberg.com.
Great. Well, that's easy enough, and I will be sure that the links are in the show notes and the description below on YouTube so that everyone can very easily find them. This was super fun, and I am so appreciative that you came on the show to talk with me. So thank you.
Thank you. You made it fun and easy.
Amazing.